Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Sunday Spin. I'm Vinny G, as always, coming to you from the district of 6-4. Sunday Spin's brought to you this Sunday and every Sunday by our fantastic sponsors, Grooves Records in San Francisco, USA, our man Kevin Chanel, and What's Left Records in the 719. And as luck would have it, my partner in crime, the host of Greno's Groove Yard, the popular show on KCOS. Don't forget to check him out on Monday nights. Greno, how are you this afternoon?
Doing great, man. There's never a bad day working in a record store. So,
no, how could there be? And how are sales today?
Not bad. Always could be better, but yeah, we're here for people 11 to 7, Tuesday through Sunday.
Fabulous, fabulous. And with us this afternoon as well is our friend from Northern Colorado, up the ways a little bit. She is the leader of Cerise Sprague and the Tritones. Pardon me. We are very, very pleased to have the lovely and talented Cerise Sprague with us from Northern Colorado. Cerise, how are you this afternoon? Welcome to the Spin.
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very delighted to be here.
Terrific, terrific. First off, I want to congratulate you. I know a lot's going on up there. We're big fans and we've been following what's going on in Northern Colorado. Now, as I understand it, the main hub for you guys has been Fort Collins recently. Can you tell us a little bit about the area for our viewers? Because they get the southern view a lot, us being, based out of the 719 here.
Yeah. Fort Collins is a college town, CSU, and so there's a lot of really young, up-and-coming energy, new kind of rock and roll. I see it seems to be a really big country, psychedelic rock and roll scene, jam band scene. But we also have the Bohemian Foundation up here, and the Bohemian Foundation is one of the largest funders for EPs in our contemporary music in, I think, the world. So Fort Collins seems to be drawing all these young up-and-coming artists from all over the country that want to get involved because there's kind of a little scene. It's not quite as big as Austin. It's still a pretty small town, but the acts coming out of here are getting better and better. So I got back from LA about a year and a half ago, and I was impressed for the size of the town, what it was cranking out. So, yeah. That's
great. I feel like college towns are always ripe for, new ideas and new music. So much of the great music of the 80s and 90s came out of that college rock scene too. So it's great to see that revival, and that's awesome. I'm sure for you to be in the center of it too.
Absolutely. Here it's nice because so many people have home studios and rehearsal spaces, and everyone kind of plays in each other's projects. It's very collaborative. We all go out and watch each other's bands and critique each other. And so the rock scene is very persistent here because there's the space. The garage band still exists here. In LA, rock and roll was a thing, but a lot of times you have to go to rehearsal studios to play with a drummer. Where here, it's the let's go out in the garage or the shed and we can play 3 or 4 hours 2 times a week if we want to. So it makes for a rock scene versus maybe a hip hop or a pop or a more what I experienced in the city. Although the city had a great, the city has seen in every aspect. But yeah, that young, just psychedelic rock and roll. And the honky tonks are pretty big around here too because of the proximity to Wyoming.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of country music is so it's like a blend between country and blues and rock and a little bit of that surfy vibe too from the snowboarding culture. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
makes sense.
No, it really does, and it's a fabulous answer. One thing I'm curious about is You do mention LA and coming back. Where did it begin for you, Cerise? I mean, what part of the country did you grow up in? What were your musical influences? Were there family members involved? That's always a critical thing for musicians who are very impressionable and start young. So a little bit about that, if you wouldn't mind, Cerise. You know, our viewers love to hear the background stories that got you to where you are. And we'd be thrilled if you could share a little bit about that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually from Loveland, Colorado, which is just south of Fort Collins. And I come from a family of musicians. My great grandmother and grandmother were both professional concert organists. My great grandmother got her start playing in the silent movies in the 40s back in the Boston, Cambridge area. And it was her profession for 50 years. So she played organ in the movies, in the churches, taught lessons, owned a little music store, you know, just whatever gig. And then her daughter, my grandmother, got a degree in it and was primarily a church organist. Then my uncle owns a recording studio, is a professional sound man and bass player in Northern California. So then that was kind of on my mom's side. Now on my dad's side, he is a preacher's kid. And my grandpa was a Southern Assembly of God minister. And so my dad grew up singing in his church. And Roy Orbison used to sing in my dad's church, or my grandpa's church, with my dad, because it was, you know, I think it was Wink, Texas, just small little town. And Roy Orbison and Buddy Holly were 2 grades ahead of my dad. Now, Cerise Sprague, my late husband, I was his bass player for 6 years. And then we were married towards the end of his life so that I could carry on the family legacy, because he is Buddy Holly's cousin. So we had this weird connection to our roots.
Yeah.
And so I was in Loveland, Colorado, playing in my little rock and roll band called Two Star Motel, well, Fort Collins. And someone said, you should go check out this not-for-profit recording studio in Loveland. So I went down there and I was kind of involved. I was about 23 at the time. And we had gotten an article in the newspaper. Well, Frank had just came in town from LA because his mom was sick. And he was looking for a backing band. So he came into this recording studio because he read the article in the Loveland paper. And I met him and he's like, well, do you know a bass player, guitar player? I'm like, I'll put an ear to the ground. And I was like, and I'm not good enough to be your bass player, because I was just, you know, I'd only been playing for a few years in my little rock and roll punk band. And I was like, but I'll get the word out. Well, there was a drummer there named Tony, and he calls me and he says, I called that guy and told him I'm going to audition. And then I told him that you're going to audition on bass. I said, no, I didn't say that. He said, well, I did. So I suggest you come down tomorrow and audition for this guy. So, sorry about that.
That's fine.
So then I came down to audition, and the drummer calls and says, I can't make it. I have to go to work. So I was like, okay. So I called Frank. I'm like, the drummer flaked, but I mean, I'll still come and try. He says, well, come over. And so I go to his house and he sits me down and he tests my ear and then my vocal range, and he tests to see if I can get into time. And I passed all those tests, you know, and I was I had just grew up singing gospel music and stuff. I wasn't, you know, so I said, well, I'm not good enough to be your bass player, but I'm willing to learn if you're willing to teach. So I was with him for 6 years. We moved to LA together to release his album. He was very ill. He had genetic diabetes. And right when we went to release it, the hard drive crashed. And it was just this string of unfortunate events. Well, he passed, and we have yet to release the album. And so, but before he passed, he had essentially handed me over his record label and stuff that he'd been building his whole life. So he has this large catalog of over 1,000 works. And some of his friends that had been fans kind of started encouraging me to keep going. And one of them was Fernando Perdomo.
Looks like we're having
We lost her for
a
a
few
second.
technical difficulties on the Sunday Spin, but we'll have Cerise right back and enjoying these stories immensely.
How about the Buddy Holly story? Huh?
Wow, it's incredible.
It's amazing what gets shared that we have no clue about. We were so lucky to get these stories every week.
It makes it so much more interesting and fun, and it just brings connects so many dots on so many levels. So yeah, we're so thankful for her. So while we have a moment, Vinny, I want to go ahead and read a comment. This is from our dear friend Nikki Royster. Great
Hello,
show,
Nikki.
guys. I'll check more out soon. Nikki, we love you. Nikki's been a friend from way back, and in fact, Vinny, I don't know if you know this, but we actually did a project. So there was a limbo land a little bit in 9th grade when Outrage kind of broke up. And Nikki was doing some singing, and she's always been a great singer. And we actually did a little side project with her. So it was really fun. So thank you, Nikki. And yeah, it looks like we got Cerise right back.
Hi. I apologize.
Not a problem. Yeah, we're so glad to have you back, and wonderful stories that you're giving us. Thank you so much. Our viewers are going to be so pleased with this. So yeah,
and they already are. Actually, we've had some wonderful feedback in your absence, Cerise. But yeah, it's great to have you back. So we appreciate the effort. I would love to hear a little bit about the Tritones.
So the Tritones it's like a cooperative group of musicians up here in northern Colorado. I started out as the bass player for Anthony Aris. He needed a backing band. I was in from LA, and I was like, well, of course I'd love a gig, you know. So we started out backing him, and then we were jamming afterwards. And we kind of started doing this improvisational jazz type of music. And all the while I was still songwriting. So when I started booking gigs, I booked a big festival. I wanted to have a backing band. So they all decided to come and back me. So it's like a cooperative group of friends that we all have our projects, and when we need band members, we help each other out. So it works really well because, in Los Angeles, you have the hired guns and you can just go down the list, and it can be, but here it's a little smaller. Like, you need to have a community, and it's nice to kind of start to try to breed a little bit of that hired gun backing musician vibe here, but still kind of keep it small town and cooperative. So that's kind of what Tritones are.
Excellent.
I love what you said about the cooperative and the small town spirit, because, stories notwithstanding, I spent time in a small town in Oklahoma, and you talk about, being the hired gun or looking for the right formula in that small peck of people. And it's certainly not easy, and it can be very frustrating and very trying at times. But for my money, it was probably the most rewarding time as an artist because of the challenges. I kept hearing, hey, Oklahoma's just like Austin. It's nothing like Austin. Colorado is nothing like Austin. Only Austin is Austin. But you're killing it up there. And that's what makes Glenn and I so happy, because it's tremendous news for the entire state, a state that means a lot to both of us. So we're very proud of you, Cerise.
Well, thank you. And I'm happy about the growth. You know, I came home and I hadn't been in the Northern Colorado scene for about 8 years. When I came back, I was like, wow, there's a lot of venues and there's a lot of bands, and it was a little bit more competitive, but not, it's still small town. So if you make someone mad, chances are you're going to see them at like the coffee shop or the local pub. So it's like, you really
I ducked a lot of beer bottles in Oklahoma. Absolutely. But again, it gets you to where you are. We're delighted that you've decided to play for us, Cerise. We're thrilled about that. Can you tell us what you're going to play for us tonight?
Absolutely. I think I will play this. This is a song that actually Scarlett Rivera is on when I release it. And she was the violin player in Bob Dylan's song Hurricane. And I'm just, it was really kind because in LA, after Frank passed, I was feeling pretty down about music and I didn't know where I wanted to go. And Fernando was kind of just encouraging and kind of producing me from the background. And he inspired the song. And then he got Scarlett on the track. So then when I came home, I actually wrote it from Fort Collins or from Loveland when I got home. So when I release it, there's a beautiful violin part from her on it. And it's called Dirty Old Ways. So, and it was just about being in the Hollywood scene and then trying to come back to life. So, can you hear it? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. I used to dream, for the scandal became me. Let me be, just let me be. Dirty old ways, go away. Dirty old ways, go away. My ears bleed from your hurtful words. My eyes cry tears of our lost. Dirty old ways, go away. Dirty old ways, go away. Set me free of the lies that you spread about me. Dirty old ways, go away. Dirty old ways, go away. I used to think I would gain your respect if I learned how to play. Dirty old ways, go away. Dirty old ways, go away. Now I know how low you will go. Don't you worry, you put me in my place. Dirty old ways, go away. Dirty old ways, go away. I was just a girl who wanted to play, and at the end of the day. You had your way. Go away. You had your way. Go away.
Excellent.
Fabulous,
Fantastic.
Cerise. Thank you so much. Fabulous.
Yeah. I wrote that song because when Frank passed, you know, I spent all these years learning all this really hard music under Frank. It was very Beatlesque, a lot of chord changes and stuff. And I was like, I felt really accomplished as a musician to learn this set. And I was really proud of myself, you know, and we were married just a couple months. And as soon as he passed, no one wanted to hear about the music. It was right during the peak of the Me Too movement. Everybody wanted to hear about the scandal, you know, and I just thought, you know, it really sucks sometimes being in modern music because everybody wants the dirt, but nobody wants the, you know, like the musicianship, the heart, what it takes to be a musician, the work, you know, they just want to cling to the Hollywood scandal.
Yeah,
So,
sensational stuff.
yeah, the sensational, exactly. And, you know, and it's really disheartening sometimes as a musician because, you know, we work so hard to learn a riff or to get a key change or understand, you know, and I just that's why Scarlett was so phenomenal to me, because when you here's this amazing woman that's been in the business for so long, she's played with so many Bob Dylan and Grateful Dead, and she's just this phenomenal musician, and she's known that way. So it was really a blessing to have her give me some credibility and kind of show people, like, you know, this is about music. You know, Frank was this amazing musician. He trained me, and I'm lucky I got to play with somebody that good, you know, just so that's what that song was about. It's like, you know, why do we have to always sensationalize it? You know, why can't we be people? So
Fabulous.
Love it.
And you mentioned your gratitude, which is truly beautiful because it leads us to, you know, one of my favorite parts of the show, and that's where we give you your time for your shout outs, Cerise. It's very important to us that you get to say your thank yous to the people who have got you to where you are today and made you the woman you are today.
Yeah. Thank you, Fernando Perdomo. Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you, Anthony Ars, Jeremy Woodard. Those are the two in the Tritones. And Josh Long and the Poudre Valley Playboys, they got me my first gig at the Forge when I got back into town, so I could start developing my solo work and write songs and have a steady gig. And just, you know, I think a lot of people right now are really trying to encourage female musicians. And I just think musicians, as you know, in general, should be encouraged. But it's really nice. I'm starting to work with people, and I just feel like they really are starting to want us to be in the professional world more, you know, and to support and nurture us. So, and thank you for you gentlemen for having me and let me say, you know, kind of
Absolutely.
tell
And you know, you said a mouthful about female entertainers and how critical the shift has been. It's my sincere hope that in the very near future, and I don't think we're that far off, that we aren't going to be using those kind of titles anymore. And I see that day coming, and it's people like you, Cerise, who are going to bang that message home. And that's why I'm such a big fan. And I want you to know that right now. So
absolutely. Yeah, I concur.
Because at the end of the day, it's not about being male or female. It's about getting to the point where you can play with anyone. And that's why I love Frank so much, because he didn't care if I was male or female. He just was like, it's so cool you learned this set.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to get to, is that to where we're focusing on the music and the ability to play the music and nothing else. Not the age, not the race, not the gender, nothing else, but the music, you know.
Yeah.
And that's where I would like us to go back to,
It's that
or
love
go
and-
forward to. Go forward to.
Exactly, that love and passion that that we all just bring into that every time that we pick up an instrument. You're right. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication and commitment. And for us three right here, I mean, we're not in our early 20s. We've been doing it for a long time, and we just have the utmost respect for you. And yeah, we support a lot of female musicians. We'd like to have more on the show. I just want to throw that out there to the universe. But we've tried to have all the ones that are in our circle, and our circle expands to meet folks like you. It's just an honor. So yeah, we're just so excited, and we want to know, are there any gigs coming up, any new recordings, anything that folks can look forward to in early 22?
So I don't have any. I've just been hosting open mics lately, which in the off season, I had a gig on Friday with the band. But I plan on going. I have a small EP that was recorded here with Shane Zweigart, and I used a loop drum for some of it, and I just want to make it a little better. So I would like to go back to LA in March and record with Fernando at Stairwell Studios, and then have the boys in the Tritones, or my fellow musicians, play some parts and put out so I'm hoping to record in March a more professional album and put it out next summer would be the goal.
Great.
So
Tremendous.
yeah.
Will you do us a huge favor when you do, Cerise? Will you come back on the show?
I would love to. I meant to play it today, and I just my fellow musicians were like, they really wanted to be on the album, and they've been working so hard. So I promised them I would put it off a little longer and get them some tracks on it. So I appreciate you having me, not just today, but in the future when I actually really get to release something.
No, it would absolutely be our pleasure, Cerise. You've been a wonderful guest. We want to wish you the best. And remember, we're not that far away from you guys up there. So, my man Greno is Mr. 719. He can lend a helping hand. He's a busy man. Keep that highway moving, right, G?
Always. Yeah. We'd love to do some networking, and maybe actually these two goofy looking guys, I guess, over here, they own this record store called What's Left, and they do a lot of booking here in the Springs. Fritzy's and the Triple Nickel, Black Sheep, places like that, kind of the hub. So we can definitely get you connected up with them. They've always put me on good bills. I can tell you they really take care of people with booking, and they work really hard for the community, not just in the record store, but they're bartending, they're booking shows, they're playing shows, they're both in bands. So yeah, we'll get you hooked up with them. Hey, how's it going? Looks like I got a customer. So Vince, if you want to take it from here.
Absolutely, Greno. Thank you, my
Cerise,
man.
it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Have a nice day.
All right.
Cerise, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week on The Spin. Guys, have a wonderful week.
All right, thanks for having me. Will do. Yes, I do need to get some t-shirts and come visit. So.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
How you doing today?